And hello, welcome to leg 3 of our Euro tour. You join us on the ground here at Keflavik on this very short hop to Vagar in the Faroe Islands, which will be our 4th stop on the Euro tour. Flight time of approximately 1 hour 13 minutes. Sunny but cold here in Iceland. Fairly busy airport though, if we have a look. There's a fair few planes on the ground. Little movement at the moment. And there we are, stand 8, where we, if you remember from the previous video, we came in and stopped. So for those that are just joining us, we're flying around the whole of Europe, stopping off at all of the countries and every dependency. So Faroe Island, Isle of Man, Gibraltar and the Channel Islands on our way. And we're flying the FENIX A320. We are going to use GSX Pro, and we have got FSLTL working as well. We'll try and teach you how to start up the A320, how to get it off the ground. We'll do some flight planning, and hopefully you'll learn something and enjoy the flight. And if you are interested in joining us in the future, don't forget like and subscribe, and let us know where you would like to go when we take off on our next adventure from Vagar. So without further ado, let's get the A320 fired up. So we'll go up top. Just going to start the batteries. Just wait for that. Second battery, and then what we'll do is we'll go on to external power since we have that available. There's the external power. Turn on the APU. Give it a few seconds. And then we can start the APU. For those that don't know, APU, auxiliary power unit. It's the small engine in the tail of the plane that powers all the electronics and gives you the power to start the engines on pushback. So we'll start the APU. I'm going to turn our strobe on. No, I'm not. Turn that off. Turn the beacon on. Nav lights and logo. Turn the seat belts. And open the doors. Just give some light on this pedestal. It is morning. It's approximately 10:28 in the morning. So short hop. Should be there before lunch. So as ever, white lights. We know we turn those off in the Airbus A320. We've lots of beacon going on. We'll check that out in a minute. And then we'll start to align the ADIRs. Remember the order: 1, 2, 3. So it's not going across, it's left, right, middle. Turn that to nav, turn the right to nav, and turn the middle to nav. That will then start aligning our ADIRs. So come down to the MCDU, ATSU, AOC menu, and flight in it. Now, I have pre-programmed our flight in SimBrief. So let's go and have a look at our visual flight plan. Here you go, you can see our flight plan. Speedbird 74 Bravo, A320, coming out of Keflavik, going into Vagar, 17th of November, hoping to be off the ground at 1940. I hope to be off a little bit sooner. We're not on VATSIM today, so we can get off when we want really. There is no coverage tonight, so I'm not intending to use VATSIM. So although it's 1940, we've gone for daylight in the sim just so you can see more. 1 hour 13, block fuel 7.5 tons we'll say there. And we're going out on the Oscar 3 Charlie departure, which I shall show you in a second. So let's just go back into the aircraft, and then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pull that flight in by hitting the init data request button. That should, he says, that should pull. Why is that not pulling it through? There we go. And let's go to init page. init request. Again, it's not going to pull everything through. It never seems to pull in the number cost index or the cruise. So we're cruising today at flight level 370, 37,000 feet. So let's have a good look. Right, flight number. Speedbird, Bravo, Alpha, Whiskey, 74 Bravo is our flight number. Our cost index for today's flight is 11. Again, just taken from the flight plan. Our cruise altitude, as we said, is flight level 370, 370. And there we go. Flight level 370, minus 58 degrees. Bit cold. So, we do have our zero fuel weight. It is 58.9 tons. I can't put our zero fuel weight centre of gravity in yet, but we will go to our electronic flight bag in a minute and get all the details that we need for that. So 58.9 / and I'm just going to leave that as it is for now. Block fuel, as we said, 7.5. I'm going to give us a little bit more, so I'm probably going to give us 7.8. Flight plan. So what's quite interesting today is it is an RNAV approach, which we haven't done together before, so it's going to be quite an interesting process. And sorry if you keep seeing that. I'm just going to bring up here, just let me move that across. I'm going to bring up the Navigraph charts and I'm going to show you. I'm just going to go through it with you now. So our departure is on the Oscar 3 Charlie departure. You can see here we are at Keflavik Airport. We're going to fly out runway 19 straight out before taking a left turn towards Oscom. So that's the Oscom 3 Charlie departure. And we've got to be above 1,000 feet at this point off the runway here before we make our turn. And we've got to be above 4,000 feet at Keflavik 244, 6,000 feet at 466, at bang on 7,000 feet by 245 on the Oscom 3 Charlie, you can see there. Remaining below 10,000 feet at 246 before we can start our climb up to flight level 370. And our approach is into runway 12. It is an RNAV approach, so there's no ILS, but although it works very similar. 4,000 feet at Magni, start our descent, and if we look at the bottom of the chart, there's our profile for coming in at Vagar 810, 2,350 feet, 2,000 feet at Vagar 806, and we should then start our descent into the airport on runway 12, runway 12. But there is no star for Vagar. It is an RNAV approach, so could be interesting. So let's go back into our aircraft. So we'll hit the line key next to Keflavik. We're on our departure, click departure. We know we are on runway 19, click that, and we know that we are on the Oscar 3 Charlie departure. We can click that and let's insert it. What that does is put all of our waypoints in. So it tells us there are constraints where we must be, minus below, plus above, and at 7,000 feet. So let's just go through that. That looks great. It's almost direct actually into Vagar. Now we have got a flight plan discontinuity. That's fine. It's because we haven't programmed our arrival. So Vagar arrival, line key, arrival, and we are coming into runway 12, and we want an RNAV approach to runway. Ooh, I didn't like that. RNAV. Now, just let me check the charts just to make sure that we get the right RNAV. It's a whiskey. RNAV whiskey 12. Select and insert. And what we should now have is our full plan with no we have got discontinuity. Right. I wonder if I can just get rid of that. I wonder if we can just go direct. Bear with. So what I'm going to do is clear and clear the discontinuity and insert. Did that work? I think it did. Yeah, so we've now got rid of the discontinuity. So if you do find you've got a discontinuity in your planning, hit the clear button, line key next to the discontinuity, and it will remove it, and all it means is that we're going direct from MY, Mike Yankee, to Vagar 806. And here's our constraints, and as long as we're on autopilot and programmed in, we will stick to those constraints. However, there is no ILS approach, so it is a manual landing. We must remember that it is a manual landing. So there's no auto land on this, so it could be quite interesting. So we've got our initiation. So let's go to our electronic flight bag. The EFB. Here we go. So FENIX. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull in the flight from SimBrief just by tapping. Your plan has an off blocks time in 8 hours 22 minutes. Well, yes, of course, because the flight plan is. I need to just quickly change that. So what time have we got now? 11:19 Zulu. Let's just change this to 11:40 Zulu. Yeah, that's my fault on the planning. Just bear with me. And then we can pull it back in. That makes more sense. So let's edit the flight. Yeah, silly. I missed that. 11:40. There we go. Generate the flight. And then what I'll do is I'll re-import it from SimBrief in a second. We'll just let that load, which it still is. It's coming. Got a bit too excited there, I think. Right, bear with me. Okay, so that's now 11:40 PDF. There we go. So we're now getting our flight plan. That's better. Let's re-import it from SimBrief. Yes, re-import now. Boom, there we go. Okay, mass and balance. Let's get loading started. I have got GSX loaded. So let's request boarding.
Boarding requested.
Let's do Iceland there. And we're now loading the aircraft. Perfect. What I will do is I'm just going to do it instant on here. It may just actually stop that. Yeah, I thought it might. That's a shame. I was hoping it would still. Let's just have a look. Oh no. And there you go. You can see our APU's working. Iceland there. So it is still loading. I probably should have. Yeah, boarding requested. So, zero fuel weight, centre of gravity, 32%. So let's just go back in. Let's use that data for a minute. Go into our init page. Hit right. I should have written that down. What did that say again? 32. So / 32.0 and insert that. That will then complete all of our fuel prediction, which it has. And I think we're ready to go. Let's just check on any messages coming through while we're here. Receive messages. Yep, load sheet. There we go. That's our first load sheet. Let's accept that. No doubt we will have another one in a minute. So our performance page. This is all of our takeoff data. Really important. Now, for those that don't know, you get this from your EFB, your electronic flight bag, and you'll need to input some data for it to do your calculations. So let's go back to our EFB and let's go to departure calculation. There you go, departure performance. So got to check we're at the right airport. We are. This is Keflavik, Bravo India Kilo Foxtrot. We're taking off from runway 19. It's dry today. Flaps 2. No toga, anti-ice off, passenger air conditioning is off, so we can sync the load sheet, brings in the data for us, and let's sync that live weather. And just while we're here, let's make a note of the QNH at this moment in time is 0983. Now hit calculate, and what you'll see is on the right hand side all of your takeoff calculations are now completed for you. So let's make a note of that. It's flaps 2, trim down 0.3, flex is 54 degrees, engine out is 1170, and thrust reduction 1170. Sim brief will not be miles out with that. V1 145, rotate 145, V2 148. All key bits of information you need. So let's go back in. So let's start with the flaps. Flaps 2 / DN for down 0.3. There we go. Flex to temp is 54 degrees. So I said it wouldn't be a million miles out. It's 1170, not 1161, but let's change it. Let's do it right. 1170, and then on this side, 1170 / 1170. Transition altitude is completed for us. The transition altitude for Keflavik is 7,000, so we stay on QNH local until we reach 7,000 feet, and then we will turn to standard QNH, and I'll show you that in a second. So V1 145 knots. Rotation speed is also 145 knots. And V2 is 148. That's the point at which we cannot abort takeoff. So if anything goes wrong, 148 knots or higher, we have to take off, deal with it in the air, and then return to the airport. And that generally would be a mayday call out. So just let's make sure we've got everything we need here. Yeah. McDo. Messages. That's final note. Just one load sheet. That's good. Let's go down here. Let's just turn up some lights on this panel so we can see what we're doing. So the ECAM's on. Floodlight here is on. Let's turn on the wind shear. Standby. I'm just going to give myself a number here. 3256. Just for argument's sake, we'll turn that on ready. We haven't got ATC, so we know we're okay there. Right. Let's go back in here. Let's see how we're getting on in terms of our loading. Aircraft is loaded. Fuel in the tanks. 7.498. That's come straight from our planning. Boarded 157 passengers. I think we might be ready here in a minute, you know. So what we do is let's just go back to our panel. Let's turn off external. Oh, hold on. What? Let's turn off the external power because we've got our APU running. We're okay. He says. Yep, that's running. No problems there. Let's go back to here. Let's remove the GPU, remove the chocks and cones. Let's close our doors, close our cargo. Hey, and we're ready to go. So let's connect the tug. You'll see the tug coming. We will wait a minute because it takes a little while. Oh, they're still loading according to this. Is that GSX? That's why, isn't it? Oh dear. Okay, let's go back in. Better open the cargo doors because otherwise we could have a bit of a problem in a minute. So let's open the cargo doors. Let's wait until it's fully loaded. It's not fully loaded. That's fine. I will close the passenger door, open the back door, and it'll tell us when we're loaded. It's boarding now. And then we'll prepare for pushback and departure. So let's just go and have another look at our flight plan. So as you can see, quite straightforward. Come out of Keflavik and we just head east, and then halfway we just start to make a more south-easterly track straight into Vagar in the Faroe Islands. Shouldn't be a long flight. We're expecting 1 hour 14 actually, not 1 hour 13, 1 hour 14 at the moment. However, depends on the winds. We did have a nice tailwind on the way here, so we were quite quick to get into Keflavik. Let's hope we've got the same winds on the way out. So let's have a look around the airport. So this is the Asobo modelled Keflavik Airport. We've got Air France in there. The car park watch. The bit I don't like about this is when you move around, the cars suddenly appear, they disappear, and they come back. Disappear, and they come back. Something to do with the rendering, I think, but there we go. So we've got a fair few aircraft on the ground. Very little movement at the moment, but bearing in mind it takes all its data from Flight Radar 24, and it will be quieter at Keflavik now live, although we are flying in the morning. It is in the evening at Keflavik Airport, so they won't see a lot of movement. So let's wait for that loading to complete, and then we'll be on our way, he says, hopefully. So I think we've got everything that we need. Let's just put in here our cruise altitude of 37,000 feet, because the VNAV, vertical navigation system, will take care of that. We will stick to the constraints all of the way. We're not going to have to worry. It's not going to go too high or too low. It will stick to them. Now, you can break those constraints providing air traffic control clears you to do so. So you can only break the constraints if air traffic control ask you to take another height. So this is where we input our QNH, our pressure, our barometric pressure, and it's 0983. 098. Ooh, come on, it's not that difficult. 83. Now that should also be on the other side, which it is. So we've got 0983 on both sides. That sets the barometric pressure to give us the correct height readings. As we said, transition altitude for Keflavik Airport is 7,000 feet, flight level 070. Not until that point. Once we're there, we'll go to standard pressure, and then we should be away. So once that's loading, we'll be ready to go. Shouldn't take too much longer, I hope. Yeah, there we go. We've got one of them's already moved out of the way. This looks like it could be the last one, and then we can close up. Yep, boarding complete. So let's go back in. Let's go GSX. Boarding completed. There we go. Just go into the EFB. Let's forward cargo holds done. And the tug is connected. We're ready to go. So, final check. Now, one thing you have to do is turn on the APU bleed. Without the APU bleed, you're not going to bleed the air pressure from the auxiliary power unit to the engines. That's really important. A number of times that I've made that mistake. Okay, right, parking brake. Let's have a look at when this parking brake is going to be turned off. I'm going to show you me doing that. So this is the parking brake down here. I use the Thrustmaster quadrant, the captain's quadrant, which is really handy because it has got the parking brake on it. So if I turn, there you go, parking brake is off. I'm going to ignore the GSX. I'm going to ignore the GSX because I'm actually going to use the EFB. There we go. And then while we're going backwards, there we go. What I am going to do is I'm going to start the engine. Engine 2. You can see engine 2 just spooling up. It's going to take a bit of time, but it's spooling up nicely. So while we're waiting, just go outside. Got to make sure that I don't overrun, and we'll start to turn. No idea where the tug is, but never mind. No idea, but hey ho. Let's get turned round. Once we're facing in the right direction, we've got to face south for this taxi. It's a nice easy taxi. I'll show you the taxi in a second. Let's go. So I think that's almost enough. Yeah. Stop. Parking brake. Set. Move the tug. Okay. Engine spooling nicely here. Look, it's now available. So let's start engine 1. Just while we're waiting for that to spool, let's just go quickly down here. Have a check the load sheet. Let's accept it. Done. And back. I'm going to go up here. Strobe light, wing light, runway turn off light, nose. Let's put those into the off position ready, because as soon as we are on the runway, I shall turn those on. Leave the APU running until I've got full power, which I should have in a minute. Whoops, I apologise if you got dizzy there. There we go. Just got to make sure engine 18.3 parking brake is set. Ignition, I can now put that to off. Yeah, perfect. So auto brake I'm going to set to max. There you go, max. Flaps, so you'll see me now. Flaps 2. Speed brake armed. And we get a little checklist in here when we get going in a second. I'm just going to go up the top again. Turn off the bleed, turn off the APU, and cabin call. Right then, I think we're ready. So, taxiing, really easy taxi today. I have to say it's probably one of the easiest taxis we'll ever do. The airport is quite straightforward here at Keflavik. So let me go to Navigraph for you. We're here. We're going to have a simple taxi south till we join November 4. We'll head left, join runway 19 and then straight out. It is that straightforward. Genuinely probably one of the easiest taxis you'll ever do. So back in, let's go. Ready? So let's just check the controls. Yeah. Left, right, forward, back. Okay. Parking brake off. Let's just give a bit of power. Thrust levers not set. Yeah, they were. That's fine, don't worry about that. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what was going on there, but that's not a problem. Whoa, there's a lot of power there though. Oops, apologies. It's no wonder we were flying. I'd left the thrust levers forward, hadn't I? Never mind. Okay, so this is us now on November 4. Complete our checklist by takeoff test button. All green, no blue, no warnings, we're good to go. So have a nice gentle taxi. And there's Keflavik. Low sun. Midnight sun's coming. No, it's not, is it? It's dark. It will be dark almost 24 hours. Not the sun. Okay. Let's give it a bit of power. So we can speed up a little bit. So that's how you start the Airbus A320 from cold and dark. Really straightforward. Once you get used to the flows, I'm probably doing some things wrong, but it works for me. And ultimately that's what counts, as long as you enjoy it and it works for you. Clear left, no aircraft. No aircraft. Okay. So, all set. Everything's good to go. Just line up on the runway. Just straight ahead of us. Down to the left is Echo. That's Echo taxiway. All clear, no aircraft coming in, so I'm not going to worry too much. Turn on the landing lights. Nothing coming down the runway. Yeah, we're good to go. So let's see what's going on. Okay, so we'll get ourselves lined up on runway 19. Again, while we're here, let's turn the chrono on. Line ourselves up. And we're good to go. Let's go. So, thrust forward, flex, looking for the temp. Auto thrust set, we're off. Looking for that V speed to come in. Nice smooth 100 knots check. Here we go. V1, rotate. Nice smooth takeoff. Whee. Positive climb, gear up. Gear up a little bit too steep. Let's turn autopilot on. Autopilot's taken over. Back into flex. Yeah, good to go. So let's have a bit of a clean up. Speed brake, auto brake off. We're now making our way onto the SID, and following the constraints, autopilot will manage all of those constraints. Look at that beautiful view there of Keflavik and Iceland. Stunning, absolutely stunning scenery. And we should stay right on the constraints. So that's the airport below us. And we're away. On our way to Vagar. Right, flaps 1. Let's have a bit of a tidy up. Flap 0. Speed brake off. Leave the landing lights till 10,000 feet. Which will be a little while yet, so just moving through 3,000 feet. Nicely coming through the... Wow, that's interesting. Look at the Navigraph charts. Let me show you the charts. I think we're taking a bit of a shortcut here. Looks like we're going straight for Keflavik 244 above 4,000 feet. That's fine. Not quite sure why it's cut the corner off, but hey ho. And then we'll make our way down the Oscom 3 Charlie departure. Should be on the ground around about 1 hour 14 minutes from now. Again, 0983, we keep on the, if we just go in here, sorry, if we 0983, we'll keep on that until 7,000 feet, because that is the transition altitude. A little bit of time before we hit that. We've got a bit of cloud ahead, look. Okay. So it might not be as clear when we get to Vagar. Let's wait and see. So just checking. So on our approach 4,000, that's fine. We can live with that. Oh, bit of turbulence. And then we're going to be above the clouds shortly. Quite low lying cloud today. It is broken though, it's not sort of pea soup everywhere. And we're making our way quite nicely now, just down the south coast of Iceland, before we bank to the left slightly and start to make our way over the sea to the Faroe Islands. Don't forget, leg 3 of our Euro tour. This will be our fourth country or fourth dependency that we've landed in. So there we go, quite nice profile now. Climbing steadily at 6,000, well actually holding at 6,000 feet because of the constraint. If I tap the constraints, there you go, you can see the constraints. We've got to be above 4,000 feet, then below 6,000 feet here, or at or below, and at 7,000 here. So what we're doing is probably holding 6,000 all the way to 466, Keflavik 466, before making our climb to 245. So everything's looking fine and dandy. So while that is just following the profile, let's go back into our flight bag. And let's look at the METAR for Vagar. Okay. So on the 17th at 1920 Zulu time, it was automatically generated. Wind 130 degrees at 22 knots, gusting 32 knots. This is going to be interesting. Visibility really good, 10,000 feet. Broken cloud at 2,200, 6,100. Temperature 08 degrees. Dew point 05. QNH 1,000. Scattered clouds at 2,400 feet. Broken at 3,900. It's overcast. There's some winds. It's interesting. There's some gusts on those winds. Oh, I don't like it. But anyway, there we go. Let's just, while we're doing this, let's look at our arrival performance. So it's good weather. Let's pick the runway. So Vagar runway 12, runway 12, we know that. Good weather. Let's just bring the METAR in. Landing weight today is going to be 63.1. I got that from the flight plan. Whoa, that ain't good. What's going on here? Low auto brakes off. Right, we're going for a wow, maximum auto brake on arrival. Whoa. Wind, got a headwind, 130 at 22, but there is a 4 knot crosswind at times. That's interesting. So it's not a very long runway, this one. This could be a bit hairy, you know. Didn't think about that. Ooh, right. I'm just going to make a note of that METAR. So the information that you need is the winds. So we know it's 130 degrees, 22 knots. Temperature is 08. It's plus 08. QNH is 1,000. So what we'll do is, and it is a little bit early to do this, but speed limit exceeded. Okay, not going to worry too much. I've cleared it. But it's a short flight. We're only going to be in the air literally an hour and 14 minutes. So transition altitude here is 7,500 feet coming into Vagar, so it is slightly different. QNH we know is 1,000. So at 7,500 feet we turn off standard on the barometric pressure and input 1,000. Our temperature is 8. This helps the aircraft in terms of setting itself up for the landing. 130 degrees at 22 knots, so it is quite gusty down there. Now the barometric pressure, that's no, not barometric. Yeah, it is the baro. What am I talking about? It is the baro. Let me get right. So that's the height at which we've got to decide whether or not we're going to go ahead and land or not, and we get told by the aircraft it's 5, and you get this from the flight planning, 574 feet in baro. Now you haven't got an input here because this is a non-precision landing. It's a manual landing. So the aircraft will not land itself. So let's just go back up here and check whether we're climbing nicely. We're at 7,000 feet. All good. Now, because we're at 7,000 feet, the QNH is flashing. So we can move that to standard now. And the way you do that is you give that a pull. And it goes to standard. And that's us. We're on our way to Vagar. Now what I do want to do is just have a quick look in our flight planning. Clear off that. When's our top of descent? So just after Rosti is our top of descent, and that's when we start our descent into Vagar. So what I am going to do is I'm just going to change that to planning mode. I'll zoom in as close as I can in the hope that you can see this. So this is where we are moving towards Oscan. There's Rosti. That's our top of descent marker. Let's just change that to 40 miles. Top of descent marker. That's when we start our descent. Into Larux. And then our final approach, which again, let me just change that so you can see it a little bit better. Into Vagar itself, and you'll notice right at the end there's a slight right bend. It's probably at this point that we'll take it off autopilot and then bring it in ourselves. I'm not a big fan of the RNAV. I much prefer an ILS, purely because I'm lazy, but let's see what happens. It will be interesting. I think this is my first recorded RNAV arrival, actually. It's exciting. Anything could go wrong. Let's have a look outside and see. Are we at 10,000 feet? Yeah, almost at 10,000 feet. So tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to turn the lights off. There need to be wing, strobe is on, beacons on, nav and logo is on, bottom row off, and seatbelt signs can come off now. 10,000 feet generally is when the seatbelt signs come off, and there you go. You can see we are making a nice left turn. Beautiful aircraft, the A320. Well modelled by FENIX, I have to say. Done a really good job of the modelling. And if you look, there we go, south coast of Iceland. The morning sun. So we'll just make our way along the south coast, and then we'll just start to make our way across the North Atlantic into Vagar. I should be on the ground. Let me have a look. Let's see, Vagar, 12:51, and it's 11:51 now. So in about an hour from now, we should be comfortably on the ground. If we don't crash. Forgot that bit. Oops. Okay. Let's see where we get. And what we'll do is we'll keep checking the electronic flight bag just in case there is any change in the weather and the METAR information for Vagar. It does change on the way, so you do have, if you've done what I've done and you've actually inputted it early ready, you do have to make sure that you check every so often that it hasn't been updated, because sometimes it will get updated. The weather does change, the wind could change direction, you could have a change in runway. You've got to be ready to react to it, especially if you're on the VATSIM network. Don't assume that just because you've had a look at the ATIS weather for where you're going, it's going to remain. It does change. I have known it change. So there we go, there's Iceland. You see a bit of snow and ice there. We just make our way steadily south along the south coast, and we'll make our way out over the North Atlantic, heading for the Faroe Islands. There we go, bank left. Go across the country and then we're off. So this is sim update 11, and I have just noticed there's an NVIDIA update which I've downloaded but I haven't put in yet. I'm just going to see what happens with the sim update, because we have had a few crash to desktops just as we're on final approach. That was with sim update 10. So I'm hoping that we're not going to see that in sim update 11, but you never know. It does seem a lot more stable. I'll give them the due. It seems a lot more stable in sim update 11. Graphics seem sharper, and I'm certainly not eating frames per second as I was previously. The FPS recently was all over the place, and I've got an RTX 3080 installed, 32 gig of RAM, and in some of the airports, interestingly the Asobo ones more than anywhere else, the frames per second were being eaten. That seems to have been corrected somewhat in sim update 11, and I'm finding that I've got a higher frame rate in all the airports, not just the third party developed ones, but also in the Asobo ones. So long may that continue. So I'll just let you enjoy the view for a while as we make our way across Iceland. If you look ahead there, look, you can see the ice, see the snow on the mountain there. So winter's coming, Jon Snow. There you go, winter in Iceland. That's where they filmed the Game of Thrones, didn't they? The battle scenes on the ice. Loved Game of Thrones, absolutely loved it. All good. Engines, keep checking the engines, make sure there's no issues. No ECAM warnings. All good on the engines. 6.2 tons of fuel on board. We're probably going to need nowhere near that. Let's just go in here. OC menu. I'm just going to check there's no other messages. There isn't. All good. Come back. This is the good thing. The MCDUs on the FENIX A320 operate independently of each other. That's an absolute result. It's brilliant. Up here, what happens here? Speed limit. Okay, 314. So it does actually take you in. I'm nervous about this. Not going to lie. Nervous about the RNAV. Give me an ILS any day of the week. Okay. So we're all good there. We're all programmed. Progress report, performance page. We've already programmed. So again, we'll just check that. We just need it's the QNH and the wind more than anything else that we need to just keep an eye on, because if that wind changes directions, it may mean a change of runway. We'll have to reprogram the MCDU, or if that wind gets up, it's going to affect how we come into land. It's crucial that you keep an eye on this, and you can do that very easily through the electronic flight bag, which is in here. So if you come back, go to the FENIX, all you do is update, so we know 8 degrees, QNH is 1000, so let's see if there's any change. 8 degrees, QNH 1000. So at this moment in time, that was updated at 1950 Zulu time, because that's the time we're at now, not in the sim, but in real life in the sim it's 11:57 in the morning, but now at this moment in time it's 10 to 8 in the evening. So no update, which is good, but we will keep checking. And we're still making our way over. It seems to be taking an age. But actually, having said that, if you have a look here, look, we've made our way, just cutting across the south coast, and then we'll start to cross the North Sea, heading for Rosti, Larux, and then straight in to Vagar. So nice steady, and there's the approach. Come in at Magni, we've got to be at 4,000 feet. Track of 110, so mandatory 4,000 feet, maximum 160 knots. So we at Vagar 842. So we've got to make sure that we're in the approach mode because we cannot be higher than 160 knots. So it is a slow approach. 2,600 feet at 840. Then if we just look at the bottom right hand corner of this chart, at 810 we need to be at 2,350 feet, 806 2,000 feet, and make a steady descent onto runway 264. A decision altitude at 574 feet. If we cannot see the runway at 574 feet, or if something is going wrong, it's a missed approach. So we go around, and the details of the missed approach are here. So missed approach, climb to 4,000 feet via the RNAV, missed approach to Magni, holding maximum 230 knots. So what we do is we'd come out, we would turn back on ourselves, come back up to Magni and go into the hold, and then we'd come back and give it another go. So there you go. Should be quite straightforward. Remember, it just depends on how the plane deals with RNAV. Then the airport, there's nothing to the airport really. One runway. When you get to the end, you do have to turn back on yourself and track back down the runway before coming into the terminal area. There isn't a lot of decisions in when it comes to parking. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Job done. So we'll pull into one of those bays there and hope that they're not occupied, because that could be interesting if all 5 are. I don't think they are. I can't see it being that busy. And there you go. So just south coast, about to make our way out into the North Atlantic before heading down into Vagar itself. So if you like these tutorial flights, like more information, or you're following our Euro tour, you want to make a suggestion of where we go to next, remember we will fly from Vagar though. Vagar is our next start point on our next flight. Don't forget, like and subscribe, and drop us a message in the chat. Tell us where you'd like us to fly to next, anywhere in Europe that we may not have already flown to. And who knows, that could be our next flight. So here we go. Still see a lot of ice. Yeah, winter's definitely starting to hit the higher ground in Iceland. I do love it when it's crisp, when it's cold and crisp like that. We once had a visit to Tromsø in the height of winter, and it was so heavy with snow. But just getting out of the plane and that crispness in the air, beautiful, so clean air, so clean. Highly recommend a visit to Tromsø if you've not done so, or Bergen. Norway's a stunning place to visit. Also, both Bergen and Tromsø are really nice airports to fly into. Lots of fjords to see as you come in. In Bergen itself, you fly down the fjord to come and land. It's a stunning airport to come into. Not a big airport, but it's a nice arrival. Lots to see, lots to see. So let's have a look down here. So you can see here we've got a heavy crosswind, so the wind's coming at 168 degrees, 44 knots, which, if you look, our route is the green line, but our aeroplane is actually pointing to the right of that at 110 degrees. And the reason it's doing that, because Rosti itself, here you go, is 106 degrees here. And the reason is that because of this crosswind. If we were just to aim direct for Rosti, the wind would push us off and we would actually miss it. We'd go off to the side of it. The aircraft automatically calculates the impact of that crosswind, 45 knots now. Automatically calculates what's going on here. Let's move, point to the right, and that way we can go into the wind and we can stay on our course all the way to Rosti, and that means that we're not going to have any difficulties in getting lost. That's the beauty of the fly-by-wire system. Climbing steadily, flight level 337. Not too far off. We're going for flight level 370, so we're still climbing steadily. Nice profile as we climb. That's good. No warnings, no issues. So, yeah, but there's the ice field down there. So we're coming steadily across. All looking good. Engine's good. No ECAM warnings. All lights off. Yeah, not too bad. Let's have a look outside. Whoops, that was a quick look. There you go. Isn't that beautiful? All the water, the reflection of the water and the sun. The moon up there. There's Iceland in the background. It's actually snow ice, isn't it? I didn't realise that. There's the river here. That's snow ice. Snow ice. Sea ice. All frozen up. And off the rivers there as well. Not noticed that. I wonder how accurate that is. I wonder when that was. There's some more sea ice down there as well. Fantastic. So broken cloud. I think it's broken cloud all the way into Vagar, if I'm honest. I don't think there's heavy cloud at all. There's certainly no rain. Should be quite a nice landing into Vagar. Plenty to see. I've never been to the Faroe Islands. I'd like to go. I would like to see it. I want to see the football ground. There's a football ground, isn't there, in the Faroe Islands? It's literally on the edge of an island. So I'd like to give that a go. Yep, so leg 3 of the Euro tour. So every country, so we started off in England at Gatwick, London Gatwick, our home airport, if you like. Flew from London Gatwick into Edinburgh, Echo Golf Papa Hotel, and then from Edinburgh, Scotland, we flew to Keflavik in Iceland, and our third leg, which is this leg, is from Keflavik, Iceland to Vagar in the Faroe Islands, which I know somebody's going to say, well, hold on, they're not a country because they're a dependency of Denmark. And I know that, but they are classed as a dependency, and we did say that what we would try and do is visit every country and every dependency. And if there is a country that doesn't have its own airport, we will fly to the nearest airport. So Monaco, for example, doesn't have its own airport. The nearest one is Nice Côte d'Azur, so that's the one we will use. And Vatican City, the Holy See, doesn't have its own airport, but we'll use Rome Fiumicino for that one. So there's a few countries like that, but we intend to visit them all, and over the coming months start chalking them off. So heading out now over the sea. got a long run to Rosti before we'll bank right at Rosti, and we'll be heading down the Gulf 3 airway to Larux, and we'll start our descent into a very sunny, by the look of it, Vagar. Our descent profile is going to be quite steep. Looking at this, it's not going to be too much longer before we go on top of descent. We're coming up to top of climb. There's the top of climb there, so not far, and we'll be on the top of climb, and then head to Rosti, 64 nautical miles to Rosti, then 96 nautical miles from Rosti. We'll then hit the top of descent, and we'll start our descent into Larux, where this is where. So there you go, 2,000 feet on Vagar 806. It's this next bit here I am slightly nervous of. So the 06, not a problem, we'll hit that, no issue. I've then got to hit 650 feet at 804. Now, in effect, we're going to treat this as though it was an ILS, in that as we come in and we hit 2,000 feet, we'll still hit the approach mode. The difference being is we won't have the landing system armed, because there is no ILS to capture. So we'll hit the approach mode, and hopefully that's us at top of climb now. Engines will throttle back, yep, which they are, and we're settling nicely. We'll hit the approach mode. Hopefully that will start to bring us in, but it won't land us. We cannot land. We have to do that ourselves. This is a manual landing. It's an RNAV landing. So RNAVs are interesting. So an RNAV approach. Yeah, it's not bad though. Not bad. Looking probably about 55 minutes before we start to get near the landing. I expect us to be on the ground for probably about 1 o'clock. It's 12:10 local time now. Beautiful and bright. That cloud looks quite thick actually. It does break up in front of us. You can see there in front. It's not thick, so I'm not expecting much turbulence as we go. We have just got that crosswind to contend with. That does keep increasing in intensity and then dropping again. So that might create a little bit of turbulence, but at the moment it's not too bad. Just while I'm talking to you, I'm actually just reading up again on the RNAV approach, just to make sure that I don't mess this up coming in. I'm trying not to start a YouTube clip in here. Let's have a look. Oh, wonderful. Deemed as one of the most dangerous approaches. Fantastic. That's not what I wanted to hear. No, it looks okay. But I think let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. If not, we'll do a full manual. It won't be pretty, but we'll get down. I'm not too worried. Right, when the temperature blows up, I said that. Okay, fine. Do you know what? Let's just go for this. Let's just not even worry about it. If it goes wrong, it goes wrong. It'll make a funny video. So, steadily making our way now across the North Atlantic. Not far off Rosti. You'll see Rosti coming into view. It won't be long after that. Oh no. No, it's not Rosti, so we're okay for now. Yeah, making good headway considering we've got a pretty heavy crosswind, 40 knots, 166 degrees, but we can live with that. As you can see, that cloud is now starting to clear up just a little bit. I'm hoping by the time we get there it will have near enough gone. Another aeroplane up there, look, just going, looks like north to south, right in front of us. Must be quite a way away because it's not showing on our TCAS. Oh blimey, that's right over the airport almost, that's where we're going. Wow. That is a long way. Actually, just shows we're not a million miles away from from Vagar, from where we are now. So here we go. Let's see where we get. I can't see that aeroplane on the TCAS. That's unusual. Must be quite a way away then. No, it's not even on here, look, so it is quite a way away, that aeroplane. I'm pretty sure we did turn. Yeah, our transponder's on. There's transponders on, so it must be too far out. I can live with that. I can live with that. Let's just keep an eye on it. The skies are not very busy over the North Atlantic today. But again, we are using FSLTL, so it's injecting from Flight Radar 24. So my suspicion is the sim time is 12:16, but the actual time now is 2012 Zulu. So there probably won't be as many aircraft in the sky at this moment in time, so I suspect that's why. Which is fine, it's not a problem. What I'm going to do, I'm now going to get this ready for the top of descent. Oh, I wonder. I'm going to put 500 in there, just because Vagar 807 is 540. So if I go into approach mode at Vagar 8110, that should bring me down, and then I can take control at 807 straight into runway 12. And there are pappy lights there, so I'm not too concerned. We'll see the pappies and we should be able to get on the ground. Oh, exciting. There he is, he's on the TCAS now, look. There he is. I think we're catching him up, but we're now turning into that wind. It's going to turn more into a headwind as we turn. You see the yellow line moving over. So yeah, it looks like we've still got to aim right of our targets, otherwise we're going to get blown off track again. We don't want that. Yep, there's our friend coming towards us, look. It's a good few miles away. It's what, 15 miles away off to our right hand side. It's not going to cause us too many problems. It'll come within about 10 miles. Let's go and have a look. Here we go. Yes, it's a way away. But what a view. I do love the British Airways livery. There's something about a good BA flight. And there we go. That's going off. Wonder where that one's heading. There it's gone. So as I say, don't forget, you know, like and subscribe. It really helps us out, and let us know what sort of flying tutorials you want to see, and the destination. Where do you want to go next? So we're going into Vagar tonight. From Vagar, where to? Where do you want to go? Some of the flights will be live streamed, some will be pre-recorded, but it'll be interested in where you'd like to see us go to next. So let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. That'd be great. Just going through Rosti. So if we go and have a look at Navigraph, you can see there quite clearly. There's Rosti. Just past Rosti, making our way down the Gulf 3 airway to Larux, and before we'll make our final descent, there's Mike Yankee into Vagar. So making good headway here, really good headway. And there's Magni, 4,000 feet. There is a hold, so if we're not at 4,000 feet at Magni, we can enter the right hand hold and try and reduce our height and our speed if we need to, because we've got to be at maximum of 230 knots by Magni. So if we need to, we can enter the hold, lose a bit of altitude, lose a bit of speed before we then take off for Vagar 842, which is a mandatory 4,000 feet. Must be at 4,000 feet, mandatory. By this point, if you're not, there's a problem. So what was that? 842, and then 810, 2,350 feet, which is here. Look. So after 842, 840, 810, and hopefully glide slope into runway 12. Now if we have a problem, we're going around, so right hand turn out 803 at 4,000 feet to rejoin the Magni and Magni hold to then try again. Hopefully, just going to check, climb to 4,000 via the RNAV, missed approach to Magni holding, maximum 230 knots. Ooh, let's hope we're sorted by then. But it's a slow approach, it's 160 knots, so we should be almost at full flaps by Vagar 842. So we should have a nice steady slow descent profile in here, should help us get on the ground. Don't forget, this is a manual approach. Steady as we go. That's beautiful, isn't it? Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, all good. No warnings on the ECAM. Plenty of fuel on board. 5 tons. Steady as we go. Just looking out for that top of descent marker. As soon as we see the top of descent marker, we'll make our way down and hopefully, hopefully we'll have a smooth landing. I'm glad I haven't got the frame rate on here, because I don't think it's going to be that good. But hey, we're all learning together. And we've gone through, you know, starting cold and dark. That's quite straightforward, and it can be quite quick. It can be quite quick. You know, it doesn't take that long to get the aircraft set up and ready. So if you follow those flows, they work for me. I'm sure somebody's going to tell me that I've done things in the wrong order, but do you know what? I don't mind. It gets me up and down. It's not a problem. I can start the aircraft. I don't get warnings. So if you find a flow that works for you, hey, go for it. Doesn't matter. As long as it gets you up and you enjoy it, that's the main thing. And we're not on VATSIM today, so we do some flying on VATSIM, but as I said, there's no cover on VATSIM at all. It would have been Unicom all the way, which it didn't seem too much point, to be perfectly honest, turning it on when there's no other aircraft. In fact, looking at Vagar on VATSIM map, there's one aircraft. That's it. And funnily enough, it's going the opposite direction. It's going from Vagar to Keflavik, and it is due to leave any time now. So there's no point us putting the VATSIM on when literally we'd be talking to ourselves, really. But as we go across Europe where there's more coverage, we certainly will be using VATSIM. So we'll giving some tutorials on VATSIM as we go, as well as getting to know the FENIX A320 in a bit more detail, and hopefully during the coming months the fly-by-wire A380 will be released, and we will be flying the A380 for some of our routes. Looking forward to that. And I may even use the A330, the Headwinds A330. I do like the wide-body jets, but something about the A320. I've not tried PDMG, I've not tried the Boeing, purely because I use the Thrustmaster Captain's Pack, side stick and throttle quadrant with the add-on. So I have got the speed brake add-on, and I have got the flaps add-on. So I haven't ventured into the Boeings yet. Although I will give it a go, I think. Let me know in the comments section, you know, what do you fly? What do you prefer and why? I'd be interested to know. You know, let us know in the comments as well what flights you want to see. Where do you want to see us go next? Is there anything in particular on the FENIX A320 or GSX Pro for that matter? If you want to know anything about GSX Pro or FSLTL, even Navigraph, the new Navigraph, which is fantastic. I really do like the update. Let me know, and we'll put together a tutorial video as part of our European tour, and we'll cover some of those things for you. So about what we got there, 40 miles, and we'll be top of descent. So we'll pull our altitude, or push our altitude, and we should start to descend following the constraints into Vagar. Still expecting to be on the ground at approximately 12:51, which is about 25 minutes from now. Making steady progress. What we will do before we hit top of altitude, let's just go back to our performance page. Again, we're just going to check our QNH, our temperature, and our direction of the wind and the wind speed using our EFB. So to do that, arrival METAR, so Echo Kilo Victor Golf is Vagar, but I'm going to refresh it. So here is 1950 Zulu, may not have changed, but let's just check. 1950 Zulu, so it's exactly the same. QNH 1000. So I'm not expecting any major change to this, but we will check it again before we start our approach. into Vagar. It's really important that you just keep on top of that and you don't want any mistakes, because it's that drives your altitude. So top of descent now starting to come in, probably about 20 miles away, so it should start coming in on our left navigation display. Any second you'll see it come down the top, and it is just a white downward arrow. Just keep our eye on that. Making good progress here. So on the right hand ND, you can see there is the top of descent, and it's actually, I've got this one to what's that, 160 miles ahead. This one on the left is set to 20 miles ahead, and you can just see there's the top of descent arrow coming in. Let me just go closer so you can get a good look at that. There's the top of descent marker coming in. So it's about 17 miles away, and that's slowly coming down, and as we get to it we'll click the altitude button and we should start to descend nicely. And we've just got to keep an eye on, so we know the transition altitude is 7,500 feet. At 7,500 feet we change our barometric pressure to 1,000. We'll also turn on the lights and the seatbelt signs at 10,000 feet. Flight level 100. So it's good, everything's good, no warnings on the ECAM, plenty of fuel, it's looking good. And this blue dotted line here is going to our alternate airport, so if anything happens that we can't get into Vagar, we've got enough fuel on board to get us all the way back to Iceland. It is an alternative on Iceland, and that's what that blue dotted line is. It's inactive at the moment because we're hoping that we land all right in Vagar, but if we don't, we make this the active flight plan and it takes us back, and we will hopefully land safely back in Iceland should anything go wrong. Top of descent coming down now, about 7 miles. Steady progress, and then we'll start our descent. Now obviously if you're on VATSIM you can't start your descent until you are given permission by air traffic control. Normally they would be contacting you probably about now. You'd start to get vectors, as in altitude, start to descend to a certain flight level. If you don't hear from them and you hit the top of descent marker, you can contact ATC just to say, request permission to descend, and they'll tell you where you can go to. But I've always found on VATSIM actually the ATC controllers, they're on it. They know when you're there and they'll let you know fairly quickly. So here we go, let's start our descent. And see here, we're now starting to descend. We'll follow the profile for flight level 050, but there are constraints on the way. So I'm hoping that we follow the constraints in. We need to be at that green dot, so I think we might be descending a little bit too quickly, but let's wait and see. Let's go for 2000 to start with. Flight level 020. Not quite sure what that zigzag line means. I should know that. Anybody know what the zigzag white line is? Can you let me know? Descending nicely. Let's wait and see where we get. We know from the charts that we have to be at 2,350 feet by Vagar 810 and 2,000 feet by 806. That then takes you onto a final approach, which again we know is a manual approach into runway 12 at Vagar, and we're coming in on the whiskey approach. Exciting. Not done this before. Not recording. You can see we're coming through the cloud ahead as well. Larynx. So let's have a look on the chart. Larynx on the charts. Yeah. And we're still on the Golf 3 airway, headed into waypoint Mike Yankee. And then we start our approach in. So all interesting approaches here. Yeah, Rustic Larynx. There we go. Vagar, Mike Yankee. It's an NDB facility. We then go direct to runway 12. There's no messing about. It's as soon as we hit Mike Yankee, boom, straight in. Okay. All right. Well, quite happy with the descent profile at this moment in time. We seem to be making our way down at a sensible pace. Constraints are on, so if we do hit any constraints, we will meet them all. I'm not going to drop below that when we know on the way there are some other constraints that we will hit. And we know there's that mandatory 4000 at Vagar 842, Victor Golf 842, so we're not going to be below or above 4,000 feet. Then the good thing about the A320 is it does a lot of the calculations itself. It works out where it needs to be, the correct rate of descent. So although we're aiming for flight level 2000, it knows where it needs to get to and will stick to that descent profile. Looks like we're below the descent profile now, so what I might do is just try and get the green dot in the box. Nice and steady as we go. See the cloud cover, it will break. We are expecting it to break. We may need anti-ice on in a little while, but let's wait and see. I have to say the clouds look a lot better with the updates. They're not as blocky and as pixelated. Before they were very, very blocky and kind of grainy. Whereas now, with the new updates and the NVIDIA graphic card updates, they look a lot better. An awful lot better. If we have a look, see as we're flying through the clouds, actually look like proper clouds for once. It's taken a bit of time to get here with Microsoft and Asobo. I'm not quite sure why, but it did take a bit of time. So still descending. About 15-20 minutes before we're on the ground. I think that might be a little bit generous if I'm honest. Well, still, oh, let's see. Yeah, it's not 12:51 now at all. It is Vagar 806 is the last waypoint on the ground. 12:53. No, it's still saying 12:53, so we're not a million miles off, you know. Start to decel at 12:47. It's got a speed limit here at 250. 188 knots at Mike Yankee. Yeah, well, I think we're going to be alright here because it's going to stick to the constraints. We've got a limit here as well. It's got to stick to that. Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. Below the profile at the moment. Probably coming down a little bit too fast, but just try and get that green dot back in the box. That's the target, I'm sure of it. Still a little bit too high. No, a little bit too low. It's nice and steady. We're coming slowly down, it's fine. So yeah, so there's some constraints at Mike Yankee. Myganese, is it? Myganese? Not sure. If you know what it is, let me know. It looks like Myganese. Myganese, then straight to Magni, and then we're in interesting times. This is. Feeling a bit nervous about this one, I've got to be honest. Normally, oh, there we go. We're back on the profile. Look. Okay, you can go. It's just not an ILS. An ILS is far more straightforward. You just got to capture the glide slope, and basically you'll be brought in to within a matter of 100 feet or so of the runway, and then it's down to you just to put it on the deck. Far more straightforward. Good profile, green dot in the middle of the box. That will change. I think we'll end up probably sloping probably a bit quicker than we need to in a minute, but let's just keep going. We will check again the QNH. We just need to be sure when we get to 7,500 feet that we are at the correct QNH. We don't want to be at standard. QNH at the moment is 1,000, but let's double check that as we come through the clouds. Look at that. That's so much better with this update. Fantastic. Done a great job with these volumetric clouds. I know people have complained about them, but it's so much better than it was before. So much better. It was just like pixelated nonsense before. Right, let's go back. Let's refresh the METAR. 2020 QNH 1000, still at 8, but it's now 120 at 24 knots. So let's go back in. Performance page, that's 120 at 24 knots. So see what I mean? It does change, and you do have to update it. There we go. Still 8, still QNH of 1,000. So once we get to flight level 075 or 7,500 feet, we'll make that change. We'll come off standard on the barometric pressure, and we will go to QNH of 1000, and hopefully that will help bring us in steadily. If you have a look here, so we come along, we then make a slight dog leg, and it is a very slight dog leg, into Vagar. Mike Yankee. Decel point is here, so that's where we will start to decelerate. And we'll hit the 2000 at 806. Spot on, and that is a constraint. That is a constraint. Boom, 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 boom. I am going to put 500 in here. Because it's going to stick to the flight constraint 2,000 feet. We are now starting to get a bit of turbulence as we start our descent. 14,000 feet, steady progress. Let's just change this to 20 knots, 20 miles. Could even do 10, but let's do 20. On this side, I'm just going to reduce it to 40 so we can see where we're coming in here. It just helps have both, and it's really good because they're they're independent of each other. So you can change. You can even have this on rows, VOR if you're flying VOR, and the landing system. Of course, we haven't got a landing system, but you could. So the ILS, you could have that turned on this side and just have it normal on here. Absolutely great. But we'll go back, keep it on the arc, because that's where I want us to be. And if you look ahead, there's the Faroe Isles coming in. So, and I think the airport's in here. I think that's the airport in there. So steadily coming down. Flight level 119. So 11,900 feet for 2,000 feet. We will start to decel shortly, and then we'll go into approach mode when we get to Mike Yankee, and then start to get our flaps ready for arrival. Now we've got to remember we do need our auto brake on high, and I am going to be using full reverse thrust, purely because it's a quite short runway, and if we went on low auto brake we would go off the end. We wouldn't stop in time. So I think just to play safe, what I'm going to do is full auto brake and reverse thrust. Should see us down on the ground, and we're expected to be down on the ground in about 8 minutes. That might be going some. Current flight time is 1 hour and 6 minutes, although it did say 1 hour 14, didn't it? So we might make this. We might make it. Let's just see. Let's see. Leg 3 of Euro Tour. Let's hope we can complete leg 3 in one piece. So countries visited so far: England, Scotland, Iceland, and now the Faroe Islands. 4 countries, 3 legs. I think there's 47 legs left to go, and that's including coming back to Gatwick from wherever we go last. And don't forget, if you want to be involved, like and subscribe. You'll keep up to date with where we're flying to, where we're going next, and just put a comment as to where you'd like to fly to from Vagar. So wherever we land, that is the start point for our next trip. So leave us a little comment, let us know where you'd like to go, and like and subscribe. You'll be able to keep track of our Euro tour in the FENIX A320 with GSX and FSLTL. I'm going to use both of those throughout every leg, and some of them we will be on VATSIM. So we'll do some tutorials on VATSIM as we go too. So descending nicely. 8,200 feet. So we're now, what we should do really, let's go and put our landing lights on. Seatbelt lights, signs even, call the cabin, just because we can. All good. Steadily descending. There's the beautiful Faroe Islands. I may have told a bit of a porky. I thought it was going to be quite sunny, but that looks like heavy cloud over the top. This could be an interesting landing, because I think we'll go through the cloud here. And there we go. Flight level 750 is passed, so we can go standard, and let's turn the barometric up to 1,000. Whoops. And what that does, it just tells the plane this is the correct pressure to work out the altitude to ensure that we've got the correct altitude. Ooh, sorry about that. And you'll notice now our profile is a little bit too high, but it's now starting to come back. The aeroplane just makes some adjustments and brings the profile, the descent profile, back in line, nice and steady. It's looking good. Looking good. I think what I'm going to do, let's go into here. I'm going to activate the approach phase purely because I'm going to do it early. And we should start to slow, which is what we have to do. There is, at MY we have got a constraint that we've got to be at. Mygonel's Island. So there's a mandatory 4,000 feet coming up, which is over the top of this island, because if we weren't at the mandatory, we'd end up crashing into it, basically. That's not good for anybody. So there's a mandatory 4,000, and there is also 160 knots, and we are a little bit too quick at the minute, although we're not. Yeah, we are just at the decel point, so we are there. Just going to prep for landing. Auto brake. Bear with. Why aren't you letting me? It's not letting me do. So we're going to do a medium auto brake. Oh dear, don't like the look of that. No, not yet. Overspeed. Can't do that yet. We are slowing, coming over the top of the island. It's called Mygonese Island. I'm actually going to fly between these islands in front of us. Go down the middle of them before we come into land. It should be a stunning landing, actually. So I'm just going to put that to 10 miles now so I can see what I'm doing. Not an approach phase yet, don't need to be. Flaps 2. Flaps 3. Oh, it didn't like that. Bit of turbulence as we go over the top of the island. Speed brake armed. Don't need to put the landing gear down just yet. We're not on that approach. Oh dear me, we're getting buffeted here. This is going to be interesting. Oh, I don't like this already. Full flaps. That's a crosswind of 42 knots. So just coming up to Vagar 840. Seatbelts are on, thankfully. Whoa. Speed. Yeah, I can see that. Whoa. This is going to be hairy, people. What's that happened there? But we're coming into land, so I'm not quite sure what happened there. Spoilers armed, seatbelts on. Wow, that was a bit hairy to say the least. There's the runway, right in the middle of these clouds here, look. Whoa, not pretty. Let's go approach mode. Possibly a bit early. Not too worried if I'm honest. I'm slightly, there it is, so you have to come over and then down. Oh dear me. Oh dear me. I'm not getting a landing checklist, which I am slightly concerned about. Let's go back in here. No smoking signs on, seatbelt signs on. Spoilers armed. We're clear, so this is going to be a clear run in. We're alright here. And there's the There's the runway. Okay, everything checked. It's a bit hairy there with the old turbulence. I've never seen turbulence like that before. We're actually going to come through the middle of this lot. Look at this. Bit hairy, but quite exciting by the same token. I never realised Vagar Airport was like this. Imagine taking off into that. That's bonkers. Okay, landing gear down. Okay, you'll have to excuse me. Might be a little bit quiet while we do this. Because I genuinely have never done an RNAV this way before, and that something tells me I'm not lined up properly. Oh, this is a bonkers runway, look at that. That is absolutely bonkers. Coming down gradually, coming down well.
1,000.
Yeah, thank you. Look at the reflection, you see the shadow of the plane on the mountainside there. So when we get straightened up here, I'm too high at the minute. Although it's not even registered, to be fair, I'm not even in line with the runway at the moment. Auto brake medium. Yeah, I know, but I tried to put it on maximum, but it wouldn't let me.
100 above.
Continue.
Minimum.
Continue.
500. $100, 50, 30, 10.
That's a bit quick, but I'm down. Whoa, we're down. Whoa, blimey. I'm glad I didn't have the yeah, blimey. I'm glad I didn't have the frame rate on there. That would not have been pleasant. Apologies, that was a little bit hard, but hey, listen, we're down. So welcome to Faroe Islands and Vagar. So I've just got to go all the way down the end here. We must turn when we get to the end. That was a bit hairy, wasn't it? Whew. Wow. Anyway, we're down, and it's all good. There's no. It was just a bit hard, really. So you've got to make your way down the runway. We're going to turn round, and then we'll taxi back down the runway to the terminal building, and we'll then turn off. Oh, that's interesting. Got the lights on the turning bit. Never mind. Guess what? We're running over them. This is just an Asobo modelled airport as well. It's not a third-party dev one, so unfortunately, look at that for a turn. Dear me, we're on the grass. Just ignore this, people. Oh, blimey, that turning head's not big enough. Still, all good. Meant to happen. It's not a problem. And make our way now to the terminal building at Vagar. So that's us, leg 3 of our Euro tour. Really interested in where you'd like to see us go next. Remember, we have to take off from Vagar. That's just the only rule that we have. and we've got to visit all European countries and dependencies, so Gibraltar, Isle of Man, Channel Islands, and we've done the Faroes. Where next? Like and subscribe, and put us a comment down where you'd like to see us go, what sort of tutorial you'd like as part of it. Or obviously we'll show you every time cold and dark startup. Is there anything in particular? Do you want flight planning? Do you want Navigraph? Let us know, and we'll see what we can do. Just have a clean up. Beautiful, beautiful airport here. That's a unique approach, I've got to say. You know, I quite fancy doing that for real now. Now I've seen it. Just that turn right at the last minute. And I'm just looking at this now thinking, imagine taking off. The minute you take off, you're going to have to bank left, otherwise you're straight into that mountain. There's no way you are going to miss that mountain. That's quite scary. But we're down, it doesn't matter. We're here. We're here. So just make our way, taxi down, back down the runway. There's no flights inbound, so we're okay. We've got some flights on the ground here, but again, not many. And something tells me that it's not very often that they get an A320 coming into Vagar, because they're all prop planes. Are they CTR 100s? So yeah, this airport's probably not designed for jet airliners, but never mind. We made it. We got down. That was really nice though, flying in there. I enjoyed that, and it was only a short hop. So I hope you enjoyed it too. And you know, if you did, give it a like. Let me know. So let's turn now. Let's go down. Follow the taxiway. There's the terminal building. Typically there's a prop plane right in the way. I was going to go down that way, but never mind. Oh no, actually it looks like that is the general aviation. We'll let them off. That's the general aviation stand. There is a lorry on the stand that I'm going to, but never mind. He'll soon disappear. Told you. Flying food group. Come on, mate. Come on. We're going through the flying food group. Welcome to Vagar. There we go. There's the runway. That's the route we came in. You can see how narrow that is to come in there. Really narrow. Really narrow. But we're down safely. A320, leg 3 of our European tour. So parking brake set. Seatbelt sign off. Strobes off. Nav off. Doors are not armed. Let's turn the beacon lights off. Come down here. What we'll do is we'll turn engine 2 off. Engine 1 off. And we should, there we go, everything's turned off nightly. So, thanks for watching. It was just a short hop there, 1 hour 14 minutes from Keflavik to Vagar and the Faroe Islands. We'll be taking off from Vagar, but where we'll be going next, down to you. Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Till next time, goodbye.